everyone. Tuna. I'm going to be with you guys for the next 4 hours. So next game is going to be High Seas Havoc with SpaceCow. So here we go.
We're live. All right, cool. Hello, everybody. I'm SpaceCow2455. Co-casting here with me is Wandering Scholar.
Hello.
And this is High Seas Havoc. Normal, 90%, NTSC, because that matters. Anyway. So this is your... High Seas Havoc is basically your standard sort of Sega platformer. You got 3 buttons, all of them do the same thing, which is jump when you're on the ground. When you're in the air, you'll do this little flip kick thing called the flipper flip. And then if you hold jump, you can bounce off of enemies and get additional height. So every stage kind of alternates between just running from left to right and from like navigating not really a maze, just kind of forking paths. This stage has an extra ending, so we're going to take that right now. And I forgot to start my timer, so just add 30 seconds onto whatever I just said. 35-40 seconds.
Only the best here.
Only the best. Anyway, we're going to take a damage boost here. That never happens. That's marathon luck. All right. So, we've got, let's see. So, I keep picking up these shoes in every level. That's because, momentum is really important, and these shoes are the only thing that make you go slightly faster, allowing you to do extra moves. There's no run, you just run by kind of moving a little bit, like walking for a couple of seconds, and then you move to running speed. Here's our first boss, and the only named boss in the game, Bernardo the Blackhearted. Who's just gonna kind of walk towards us with his sword outstretched and move faster every time we hit him. And the only real speed tech I'm gonna try to use here is keep him on the left side of the screen, because the fight does not end until he floats off the left side of the screen. Also, bosses in this game have an absurd number of iframes. And I can hit him again as he's dying. There we go.
Alright, and now we're on to Otarushin. It took me about 10 tries to get that right the first time. There's not really much going on in this level, so I'm going to explain the lore to everyone around. So, Captain Havoc, or as it's known in Europe, or Captain Lang as it's known in Japan, has a story. We had to look it up on Wikipedia, though. Stories of the anthropomorphic pirate seal named Havoc, as we see here. His sidekick Tide, and a girl named Bridget, and an evil walrus pirate named Bernardo, who are looking for the Esmeralda, a gem with powers that can stop whole armies to be toppled. The map shows where Esmeralda is located, and Bernardo is looking for the map. Havoc and Tide discover Bridget unconscious at a beach. When she wakes up in a dwelling, she instructs Havoc to keep her and the map safe. Havoc hides the map in the cliff. After Bernardo's henchmen kidnap Bridget and Tide, Havoc sets off to rescue them. That's it.
That's also the lore you can get from the title screen of the game and from the manual. By the way, there's a bunch of characters in this game. Only the characters that were named there have names.
And you'll only see you only see Havoc and Bernardo in action. Bridget and Tide will hopefully show up. Hopefully we don't punt too hard. First and foremost, the most important thing about this new level is we are underwater with no change in physics whatsoever. Yeah. Great. Oddly enough, a lot of this game has a lot of little features that put a lot of work into it. The music has all its unique titles, little things like that. But sometimes there's some other aspects of the game they just completely skimped out on.
Yeah, one thing to note is this game was later ported to like a weird like Genesis arcade console. You can find a MAME version of this game. I have not played it, but you can find one. And yeah, there's parts of this game where you can tell it was designed to munch quarters.
much more later in the levels when we get there. They get kind of ridiculous. But here we come up to the first boss. We're gonna call him Bubblegum Dog because outside of Bernardo, no one actually has a name. Bubblegum Dog because he's clearly blowing bubbles. All bosses have a certain number of hits and certain number of phases. This guy just kind of gets beaten to death really
that was
fast.
Actually a really good opening. Normally he zones me out with those bubbles because they come out randomly. That was a really good Bubblegum Dog fight.
That was a really good fight. Holy cow.
Also, I'm mashing start to get through this, because if you mash start, it skips counting the score. Alright, so here's Burning Hamlet. This is the only stage in the game that doesn't have a checkpoint. It's one of the shorter stages. The big thing is we're constantly being chased by this fireball that just constantly rubber bands itself to our position. And if we get touched by the fireball, it is instant death. So we are just trying to stay ahead of it, but not too far ahead of it because it can lock us in an unfavorable position. Hey, there we go. I finally got the swag jump. So one of the things that shout-outs to Felipe TCR and Theos Tass, who made and encoded just a really baller task for this game that clowns on all the bosses, because that's where I got all the routing information and kind of some ideas for tricks you can do. Like one of the things here, I was able to jump over one of those fireballs because while the fireballs are dying, they don't have an active hitbox and they don't have active collision. That's the only place I've been able to actually do it RTA. The task just runs under all the fireballs basically, because it can do everything frame perfect, so it can run under the fire before the next fire falls. Anyway, this is our longest time to shoes. And now things get a little hairier. Again, there's no checkpoint, so if we fall in the lava or get caught by the fireball, we have to do this entire, 2.5 minute stage over. Oh, that was smart. Alright, there we go. Alright, now hopefully the fireball doesn't lock us in. Okay, normally the big fireball shows up and just kind of ruins my day when I'm standing on this platform. Oh, there he is. Always chases you for a big epic finale to the finish line. Alright, and then, yeah, again, the music in this game is really good. That seems to be a recurring thing about all of these bad games, is we have nothing but, largely we have nothing but positive things to say about music. But this is probably my favorite track in the game. This is called Lonely Road. All the tracks in this game actually have titles, which you can listen to all of them independently in the orchestra mode, which is separate from the options menu. The sound test actually has its own special little title screen with a weird little symphony. Anyway, I'm gonna exploit a local cycle here to avoid these fireballs. That's the biggest tech we have in, the biggest tech we have in the game is exploiting local cycles, because everything just sort of spawns in based on your screen position. Now we're gonna run from these weird little bushes that run at you, and if they hit you, they do about half your health. We're gonna take a damage boost coming up here to skip having to blow away 7 little pieces of fire. And then it's just kind of, should be pretty clear sailing until we get to the boss. Normally I take a health up, but if I get to the boss and die, I just start at the boss anyway. There's not really a lot of penalty for losing lives because you start at the checkpoint, which you start at the checkpoint except when you game over. Then you start back at the beginning of the level. You have infinite continues, which makes me think that this game was originally designed to be sort of an arcade game. And now we're gonna fight the mole, or the ground dragon, I guess, who's responsible for burning the Hamlet
and throwing bombs everywhere.
So I can't hit him when he's doing that windmilling motion, and in fact trying to hit him will probably hit me because his hitbox gets bigger when he starts doing it. Then he has this 10-second period of invincibility where he digs underneath the stage, and another one where he digs under the stage again. I'm going to try and get as many hits on him while he's vulnerable as I can so that we don't have to go through so many phases of invincibility. You notice that the balls are going faster here now. That's based on how much damage I've done to him. I used to think it was random, and then I realized it was happening consistently when I did consistent strategies. Which hole he pops out of here is always the same every single time. And he should be dead here. And bye-bye, Ground Dragon.
And now we get into the actual hard parts of the game. The parts of the game that aren't available on easy mode. Actually, second stage of Burning Hamlet isn't even available on easy mode, so...
Yeah.
This is where we start getting into some precision platforming, as we'll show here. But yeah, basically the biggest thing is just constantly moving and avoiding some of the infinitely spawning birds that show up.
Like that one.
Like that. Yeah, this is mainly just trying to run and avoid all the boulders and the birds and all the garbage that's getting thrown at you. And this is where the precision jumps happen. The checkerboards are a big stay on this stage and the next one of just riding it and figuring out where to go. One of the things we're going to try to avoid, you've seen a couple of them, but one of the other aspects of this game that they put a lot of work into is Havoc's a lot of unique animations for when he gets hit. We might take one in the next level, depending on how Space feels, relating to some weird wall master hand grabby guys. They only appear in these two episodes, but they have a really weird animation for when Havoc gets hit.
Yeah, it's special. Yeah, but if I got hit by these, like, boulders, like, the Havoc would get smashed flat like a pancake, and I'd have to wait, like, 5 seconds while his pancake kind of floats down.
If he gets hit by spikes, he usually falls down and has water leaking out of his rump for some reason.
Yeah, that's, like, the most disturbing animation to me. And then a blind jump to a swinging platform ends the stage. Now this song I think is called Sometime Somewhere, which is the most, like, generic kind of title to a song. Also, Aurora Borealis at this time of year, localized entirely within my Genesis.
I thought we've moved past that one. What is the new Simpsons meme of the week?
I have no idea. But that was relevant when I was submitting this. So it's still in the commentary.
So here are the weird wall master hands.
Yeah. So let me just, for posterity. And it does that.
Because why not? So here's the biggest shortcut in the game.
Yeah, just hold left, fall.
As you can see, once you learn the ins and outs, this level actually seems a lot more complex than it is. There's just a lot of skipping through stuff by falling.
Oh crap! Oh, good. I got saved by the damage boost.
There's the weird holy butt animation we were talking about.
Weirdly, it doesn't happen for those spikes. Let's see. For marathon safety, I think I'm gonna go grab the coward ham.
Space had to explain what coward ham was to me first time we started doing this. I had no idea.
I usually avoid it, but I took a couple hits.
Yeah, we're almost at the boss. Actually, we are at the boss right now. This guy doesn't have a name, but his name is unofficially Storm Eagle's dad, because one of his moves is basically Storm Eagle's dive. We'll get there in just a second, though. So he first has these two dives. There's Storm Eagle's dive 1. These are all 100% scripted, those dives, so it should be one of the easier ones to deal with.
Also, I guess shoots out birds like Storm Eagle.
Storm Eagle shoots out tornadoes. Or do I not remember that game right?
He also spits out an egg that turns into birds.
What? Oh, he does! Oh, I haven't played that game in so long.
And then also, Storm Eagle's dad has a very third hitbox.
But now Storm Eagle has died and given birth to more future eagles, possible Storm Eagles, we're not sure.
All right, and here's Frozen Palace. This is the first level in the game that has a global cycle, which is there's water in this stage. Every time the timer hits 5 or somewhere around there, has a 5 in it, then the water freezes. Anytime the last digit of the timer is 0, the ice melts. And I mostly base my routing around that as best I can. There's some parts where I just can't really control it.
Yeah, part of the obnoxious part of this level is these constantly appearing ninja flying squirrels.
And these little bird ring guys, but I can mostly just kind of punch holes through the little rings of birds they have and get through.
Those guys will become a little bit of a trouble in the next couple of levels, and we'll explain why when we get there. Funny thing about this level, though, is on the demo screen, you can change your difficulty of the game and then let the demo run, and it will affect the actual demo. So, funny enough, this is the level that plays. If you put it on impossible, it's a one-shot kill. So Havoc gets frozen and then just dies, and it's just, the screen kind of sits without anything going on for 5 or 6 seconds before the demo restarts.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, I haven't gotten caught by the ice yet, but if I get caught by the ice, I have to mash a bunch of buttons to get out, and it's just constant damage over time. Thank goodness for mercy frames. All right. Crap. All right. I was hoping I could avoid falling into that pit.
Yeah, this is the part where it gets a little overwhelming for me to watch because there's just too many things on screen for me.
Yeah, and then there's just a lot of squirrels that are designed to get you here. But hey, we finished that level about 5 seconds faster than I usually do, so nice.
So we're on a good pace. It did introduce something right at the end we weren't able to note, but on this level we'll...
And we wait
right
1 second to get into phase with the ice.
That slippy ice, though, we'll see, are the ones on the ground are slippy ice. They heavily throw off your momentum, which will be really important later in this level, as momentum is basically the only thing you get in the game.
And bouncing off these guys. Getting back in.
So right there, kind of
these little hidden platforms to get up to the top of these ramps and avoid having to run up them. Right. Go on.
So yeah, it started showing off where the platforming gets a little intense here. Is the last 3 tiers before you get to the flat checkpoint. You have to be perfect on that. You have to get a certain momentum to jump over. The ice throws off that momentum, so it makes even more precise platforming than is necessary. But Matt's making this look easy so far.
I've got that. Yes. Oh crap! I held down and accidentally did a slippery slideway roll when I meant to jump.
Good save for not falling into the death spikes.
Yeah. Oops. Crap. And then I might fall in them anyway. Oops. Oh, freaking ghost. What up, Ghost? Oh, I despawned it. Alright, well that was less than optimal.
But yeah, you can see that the jumps require, outside of just running out and hitting it, takes a couple extra hits. So...
I'm gonna wait for this and get the coward chicken. And hopefully just not fall into a spike pit after wasting all that time. Hey, I got it. Alright. So this is the part that is the worst. You can't jump through those platforms. If you try to jump through them, you just bonk and fall into spikes and die. If you fall on the right side there's a bunch of pipes that spell out. Anyway, here's Bubsy's dad, who's got a Geese Howard-style Rapukin, and throws some caltrops before then just running left and right a lot.
Luckily, he's very predictable.
Yep, okay, there was the one I was talking about. Also, his hitbox, the thing that makes him hard to fight is his hitbox is kind of garbage.
As we're noticing with a lot of these enemies and late bosses. This guy only takes 10 hits, only has 3 phases, which we've seen them all. Rapukins, charging, and uppercuts.
There we go.
This guy's also one of the only other bosses shown in the cinematic, as he's the one that steals the girl.
All right, so now we're at Mount/Fort Bernardo, depending on what you're reading. The game calls it Mount Bernardo, but the manual calls it Fort Bernardo, so we're not sure what it's supposed to be. This is a level that is largely about pits and things that knock you into pits, namely these bats that sit up at the top of the screen and fall directly into your Y position without you being able to see it. So that's a fun time right there. We bring back the bird rings. Yep, speaking of bats, I forgot about these ones, and they kind of blend in with the background. Now we've also got these like weird platforms that swing in and out, but you can always stand on the little hubs. I did that jump too early. I'm not gonna jump up here because there's a bat that just comes out of nowhere and owns me. And now we gotta thread the needle here between this ant and this hedgehog. And avoid the mice that are dropping Molotovs.
Which I think is this is the only area they appear in, correct?
Yep, there's similar looking mice that punch you in Otarushin 1. We saw one of them, but this is the only time where they throw out fire bombs and come in from both sides of the screen at all times.
All right, now this level doubles down on the death pits and things that knock you into death pits to a ridiculous degree.
This level and the level following are why I gave myself a 45-minute estimate. Because things can just swing real hard.
We'll get to the heaviest swing when we run into him. The boss on this level is no joke. It's more the big one to this is there's now falling platforms, which have fake platforms that you shouldn't jump on because they'll kill you because of spikes, and bats that appear out of nowhere to screw up your jumps.
Yep. You notice there we were surrounded by floor and ceiling spikes and things that would either knock you into the spikes below or cause you to bounce into the spikes above.
So here we have the upgrade to the old wheel wizards, dog wizard things. We have to actually kill them all in this one because they turn around and shoot fireballs. Apparently the Tass knocks a hole in 2 of them and then runs through like a god, but you know, Tass is Tass.
Yeah, it does a kick. I'm gonna grab this chicken because I want to be at full health to fight the boss this stage.
Yeah, and the other thing that's new that we're about to do is platforming on ants to avoid porcupines because animals and
Sega.
Sega, yeah. Regular animals in anthropomorphic games will not deal with that bit of logic.
You can't jump any higher than your minimum jump there, or you will jump into the spikes above you and die. All right.
We're almost at the boss. Just gotta clear these rings.
Yep,
and then
I did that in the least optimal pattern possible. I want to be killing 2 or 3 of these birds at a time.
And now the most exciting part of the game.
Yep, riding on ants. Ooh, why did I move to the right there? That was scary. All right.
Now I'll take over as this is the boss that typically causes everyone problem. Dog Wizard. He's a dog, he's a wizard, he's Dog Wizard. Name came from Smite during his blind run of the playthrough. Matt, we have never seen anybody defeat this boss in a blind run in less than 4 hours. Also, when we did the hard mode, it took us the length of time it took to beat the rest of the game just to beat this guy. He's kind of nutty.
It's mostly due to the randomly falling spikes.
Yeah, the lightning bolt, he has a illusionary attack that comes up later, and even these hover boulders are the easy, but the spikes themselves, I believe I've been told they generate on boot, so there's no real way to figure out how to do it other than to get good.
Yeah, there seems to be a handful of predetermined patterns, but there's enough that I have not seen. I've not seen them many times.
Gray laser. You can get a hit in and duck. Or if you're the task, you're a beast and just keep hitting them during the Wraith laser.
Alright, now this is the safe part of the screen. I walked into the unsafe part of the screen, like a goober.
Dog Wizard is also invulnerable during this stage. That's why we're not kicking him in the face.
Yeah. You might have noticed that part earlier where I got pinned between the wall and Dog Wiz, and it just made it sound like I was trying to chip away at a piece of steel. Nope.
Well.
Thread the needle. Alright. Well, alright. I gotta do this without shoes. That is one of the things that sucks about dying on a boss is you don't get the shoes.
So yeah, let's see what other little bits of information we have.
That's a bad pattern.
Yeah, so as described earlier, it's kind of a slower, crappier Sonic. It has 3 buttons, but they all do the same thing.
Yep. This fight features all of the things you do.
I don't think you've done the slippery seal roll yet.
I do it to get under that boulder on the left.
Ah, okay. Enemy damage is based on difficulty. Looks like for this one, most of the damage is about an 1/8 of your life bar. Higher difficulties make that half, and then one-shot kills. We assume we weren't crazy enough to try and do the ultra hard difficulty because the hard difficulty was hard enough. There's also a background timer, which we typically don't care about, but if you take longer than 10 minutes in the game, you just lose.
Yeah, I've never seen that happen. You usually die to, usually lose for other reasons if you're gonna lose. Also, this boss theme is bumping.
We were listening to it last night. Right, we noted that we'd never heard the actual song without the lasers, and it sounds weird.
There we go. Just watch for him open his coat. Almost beefed that. And... triple kill!
Alright, and so we're on the last level.
Yeah, so this is the final. Features everything we've encountered to this point, just harder. So we've got the planes, they shoot missiles. We've got the little boys that walk around with their swords, but now they have shields. We got explosions everywhere, and there's the best is yet to come, I guess. Let's see.
Best in finger quotes.
Yeah, so, alright, we're gonna see it up here. Yep, there we go. So, Bernardo apparently heavily invested in UPS. If it fits, it ships worldwide. And, we're seeing the, I don't know, the fruits of his courier service coming at our face here. So yeah, boxes just come at you. They're kind of based on where you're on your screen position. They look totally random. They're not. You can manipulate them to get around the level, which I do a lot in this, just because there's platforms I have to wait for, and I can bounce off a crate to get a little higher sometimes.
Like that?
Yeah.
There is a section coming up with a big jump that kind of highlights the difference between the tasks and this a human run.
Yep. Alright, so here's the YOLO jump.
And this is the jump with
damage boost. Yeah, so depending on how things shake out, that jump either lands me with taking no damage, gives me a damage boost, which puts me into a safe position, or I end up in a place where I get hit by a box and get knocked into a pit and die.
and
Gonna
speaking
take
on
an intentional death here, because I want to be at full health for the final boss, and that's the easiest way to get back to full health.
The task for the big YOLO jump actually reads the pixels, which is impossible to land perfectly every time.
Yeah.
So unless somebody knows how to program your eyes to do that, I don't think we're ever going to beat that.
Yeah, there's not really a good visual cue because the clouds in the background keep moving constantly.
I guess you could try the moon one time, but that's insane.
Yeah, I guess it moves slightly. It's got a little bit of parallax to it. Alright, one more YOLO jump to take us to the final boss, which Scholar will tell us about.
3 guesses if you can guess who the boss is. Ah, surprise! It's Bernardo. He's known as Bernardo the Blackhearted in this one. Phase 1 right here has 8 hits, 2 patterns. He shoots meteor at everybody. It is a predetermined, although it does look random. And then after it has a slow lightning bolt pattern. I think we're going to try and kill him before that actually happens. Great. Now we're on to phase 2, where he turns into the Super Bernardo through the power of the not... Same thing, same pattern, except this one has a little bit chunkier meatballs thrown at you. But the real thing we got to worry about is the lightning, which I think we will never inevitably have to see.
Yeah, there's no way to get enough damage in on him before it happens.
It's ridiculous, as it's 4 ways, or excuse me, it's about 6 homing lightning bolts, and you can't run left and right because they follow, so they just...
Oh, jeez, that's bad. Oh, we got it.
And you can see there as it kind of shot back and forth really quickly on the screen. That's the worst case scenario why you can't go quite back and forth. You got to do 2-dimensional jumps.
And that's time. So, hey, there's Tide and Isabel, or Bridget. I don't know what I was going to call her, Isabel.
Because of the new Smash announcement. Everyone's talking about her.
Bernardo's defeated, his ship is destroyed, and in one final gesture of defiance, Havoc throws all of them to their inevitable death in Davy Jones' locker. And it's surprising, because, you know, you wouldn't expect a Sega game to have, like, a sad ending, but, oh, actually, there we go. Hey, and then we're saved by the Emeralda.
That's
so
it.
Yeah, thanks everybody. Thanks everybody for letting me present on this marathon. It was a lot of fun. So stay tuned for I can't remember what's coming up next. Hail Sky. Yeah. Stay tuned for Celestial Hacker Girl Jessica coming up. All right.